hoping for the rest of it.
Okay, that'll be fine.
And Chris, I'm getting good rave reviews on Old Barnstead Road.
Yeah, we're getting it. Well, Old Barnstead Road is almost 90% complete right now.
Yeah.
I've got a couple emails and a couple phone calls. The grader's got to come out soon there, buddy, too.
Yeah, we're waiting to get the roads done before we do that because I'm not going to waste money grading.
Yeah. Okay. So we're back live, I see.
You just 1 minute. I got to put it on the website. Hold on a sec.
Okay.
So just for a quick chit chat, I did finally get a contract back for our legal to advise from Turnkey Waste Solutions for our cardboard.
Wait a minute. We're technically still in non-public, so we can't discuss that.
Yeah,
until we vote out of non-public.
And we probably shouldn't put, unless it's something urgent, Chris, let's get it on the agenda for the 23rd unless we need to do something with it.
Okay, we should be all set now.
Chatting about it.
Okay, so you want me to put that on the agenda for the 23rd?
Definitely.
Okay. Okay, do I have a motion to come out of non-public?
So moved.
I have a second? Second by Tim. Roll call vote. Tim?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
And Hal? Yes. Okay, so we're back out of public, back into public.
Now, you said you had to open up a new YouTube. Can the public still hear it now?
Yes.
Yeah, you.
That's why we had to wait. She had to post a new link.
That's why, because a lot of people think it just kicks back on, but it doesn't. Think of it like a mini recording of a video. So it's recording us right now, making a video. And then when we stopped it, we start a whole new one. So it's a new link.
Okay. So
So I
Chris,
just put it on the website. So we're good.
so Chris, you're welcome to listen in on the rest of this. But you know, if you want to get back to the other stuff, I've got the hiring back on the agenda for the 23rd and turnkey contract on the agenda for the 23rd. Anything else?
Our disrepair of trucks for putting up for auction. You can put that on for the 23rd too.
Say, what is it again?
Our 2 trucks that we don't utilize anymore because they're broken down.
Disposal of surplus equipment.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you can work with John on all 3 of those. And again,
Yep.
appreciate what you're doing. I'm getting a lot of rave reviews, so thank you.
No problem. Thank you guys.
Okay.
I
So
am
moving,
going to listen in, but I'm just going to shut my video and audio off.
okay. That's okay.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks. Okay. So next we have an unpleasant one. Could I get a motion to accept Catherine, our financial specialist, resignation with regrets?
Move to accept the resignation of the finance specialist with regrets.
Do I have a second? Tim, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll
John
call.
has- You want John real quick, or you want to vote?
Well, I was just going to say, she's really going to be missed. We appreciate the work and wish her the best in her future endeavors.
Yeah, thank you, John. That was good to say. Thank you. Okay, so roll call vote. Matt,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and Hal. Yes, and John's absolutely right. She did a great job for us.
I've got a couple text messages that says people can't get back on. So they have to go back into the website and click back on.
Yes.
So how did they know that though? See, that was another quick problem.
Well,
How do we address that? We come back in and we're all talking and people don't know to go back to the website to re-click the number.
I would guess that they would call Lisa and express that they have trouble. That's what the posting is on the website to do. And she can tell them.
Sorry, Hal. I was just going to say, keep in mind, Tim, that they can't speak anyways, so it will become available even if they're not watching it like right at the moment that we're saying something. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if we start getting a lot of calls and Lisa says, hold on, if there's something the matter, then I would feel differently. But the number to call for Lisa, it has not changed. So, I'm expecting that that's really our sort of canary in the mine.
Okay.
Okay, so that was a tough one. She will indeed be missed. Legal services bid review. John, you sent something out. Do you want to go over what you did and maybe give us a little bit of explanation what you expect from us?
The board had a very thorough request for proposal, which went out, which included the factors to be considered in ranking the various firms. And it also contained a list of expertise that was being requested. So what I suggest is that you break it into 3 phases. One phase would be to rank in category of land use, planning, zoning, and codes. The second would be to answer the questions relevant to those. The second one would be to answer the questions relevant to municipal law as a second category. And the third one to be ranking human resources, personnel, labor issues. I also included a cost analysis for those who are interested in looking at cost, but really you should make the initial ranking based on what you think of each category. Now, you may have one firm that you want to proceed with all 3, or you may end up with 3 law firms, each specializing in a different area. But you can, what we've done is we've put a copy of everyone's proposal in each of your mailboxes. If you let us know how you want us to get it to you, we can do that. They are at Town Hall in your mailboxes, and we can either send them to you. It's a fairly thick packet, as you remember from the proposals, but they run 15, 20 pages each, and there's 4 of them.
Yeah.
So that's my proposal. I did, the sheet that I emailed out basically takes the factors. I attach at the end the RFP, so you can see how I basically took everything that was in the RFP and put it in you rank the various firms on those characteristics. So I didn't know if there were questions or not, or I do want to have a little discussion on reputation at the end.
Okay, so some of that discussion we have to do in non-public.
The one on reputation, yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a brief pause here. I'm seeing Lisa answering quite a few phone calls. So Lisa, do we want to pause for a little bit and let folks catch up to the YouTube link?
Yeah, I told them that they, about the new link, and they said that they're just going to go back on and get it. And then, like I was expressing to Tim, that they'll still be able to see everything that you said. So
Yes, that's true. There'll just be a little bit of a delay when they sign on to it. Okay, so you think we're okay then? Okay, thank you for handling that. And thank you, John. I did not have a chance to read it in detail, but what I saw looked good. So thank you. Okay, next up is the main thing that we came here to discuss tonight, and that's the process for filling the vacancy. This could be a pretty wide-ranging and open discussion. So I guess first I'd like to get some ideas as to how folks would like to start this discussion. Any ideas in terms of, sort of general steps we want to take or things like that? Tim, go ahead.
Once we get it all, the deadline comes and everybody's name is in, do we have to interview these people, or can we just there's no rules and regulations, right? We kind of there's no RSA that says we have to, pick 3 and then interview, because a lot of them, when they sent their stuff in, I read, I look forward to the interview process, or I look forward to coming in and talking to you. That's just all. We don't have to do anything. We can just say, okay, John Doe, you're it. Welcome aboard.
Do whatever we want.
Okay.
The RSA just basically says it's up to us to make the selection. If we don't, somebody can petition the court to fill it, and the court may or may not, depending on the situation. It's just somebody petitioning to get it filled.
Okay. No.
Everything else is wide open. We can do it by coin flip. We can do it by darts. Yeah. It's up to us.
Not darts at people.
I mean, let's face it, the public might not necessarily respect certain approaches, but it's up to us. Matt, go ahead.
So one of the things that I think would make a lot of sense, given that we had 8 before we even extended the deadline, and I'm guessing we'll wind up with more than that, is if we came up with a reasonable length interview guide that we could send to candidates just to reply in a written format and send their answers back into us and give us some time to review those. We can create a rubric just like John did for the legal RFP, and basically come up with our overall top 3 candidates based on individual scores, and then maybe have those folks in for an interview. It would be very similar to any sort of hiring format you'd see in a large organization. The other option would be that if we looked at those answers and had a chance to run through them, and we had time to take a quick straw poll, we might find that we're all in agreement, or enough of us are in agreement that we can cut out some of that time-consuming process. I do think it's important for us to fill this vacancy as soon as possible, just to get the work done that we're all doing and to move forward with things. So those are my 2 thoughts.
So, okay, so let's just try to frame that within a calendar schedule here. So and again, this is just a straw man, so to speak. We're not saying this is the process, but what I think I heard you say, Matt, is between maybe now and the 23rd, we develop an interview guide. We now on the 23rd know everybody that's been that's thrown their hat in the ring. We send them the interview guide, ask them to get it back to us in X number of days. And then when we get that, then we, amongst ourselves, look at, are you saying we each do a rubric? Or how would you do it once we got the interview information back?
I think once that information was disseminated to board members, we could each take a look on our own time, compile using a common rubric to score each of those potential candidates, and then bring those scores back to the table. The hard part is figuring out how to do this in a way that honors transparency, right? Because we did get the feedback from legal counsel that this process needs to happen in public session. So, right. But I think if we each did score those folks based on the rubric that we were in agreement with, we could come back to the table either in a special meeting or on our meeting. Actually, we'd have several weeks. So we did it that way.
Sorry.
And then just whether, again, if the board wants to then turn that into the top 3 and bring those folks in for in-person interviews, that makes a lot of sense to me, unless there's already consensus, in which case we can cut out that whole process.
Okay, so again, let's just flush this out. The 23rd, by the 23rd, we have the questions ready. So then, for example, by the 30th, questions are back. By the next board meeting, we have the board members weigh in on what they think based on those questions. Is that what you're saying, Matt?
Yeah, depending on how we want to do it. So if we wanted to simply go through the math of it and identify the top 3, maybe a special meeting on the 7th to just do, to share those scores and identify the top 3 candidates would make a lot of sense. And then have those folks in on that next meeting, or vice versa. We could wait for our regular meeting on the 14th and have folks in on the off week on the 21st of July.
Okay,
we're gonna start losing time here pretty quickly.
Yes. Okay. So let's just sort of flush out Matt's and then we'll adjust. So Beth, just give me one more minute, please. Or did you want to comment on something?
It was about Matt's. Do we have everyone's email? Because a week wouldn't be enough time to mail things to somebody. Like, snail mail.
I believe everyone's intent came in via email,
Oh.
didn't it, Mr. Chairman?
I did not see them all. Some came to me and I forwarded them to Lisa, asking her to acknowledge it. Some, I believe, came directly in. Lisa, can you confirm that?
I got all 8 printed off right here. Give me a
Let
second.
Lisa talk, please.
Are you just talking about the names or their actual letter?
Either.
So all the names I have listed on the website, I think I included with your packet last week, however many I had at the time for letters, which was probably 5.
No, what we're asking is, one, do you have all the emails of everybody that applied,
Email addresses.
email addresses?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the only way I've gotten them is through email.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. They didn't all come to me. Some of them went directly to you.
Directly to me, yeah.
Okay. So I think to sort of flush out the rest of the process, in addition to sending out the questions and getting the questions back, answers back, then we should get with that everybody's letter that they sent in indicating their interest so that we have their answers and their letter of interest. Yeah, and then I guess just to continue this, maybe we identify the top 3 for interviews. And, maybe there's a variety of ways we can do that. Maybe we can do a forced ranking. Okay, John, go ahead.
I would suggest you develop the questions tonight, send it to all those who have already submitted. If anybody is late submitting, they'll have less time to do the essays, but have the answers back on the 23rd. So at that meeting, you can narrow it down to a consideration in case you want to, you could either discuss them and make a decision that night, or you could narrow it down and decide what you wanted to do with the, say, 3 finalists, if that's what it came down to. But I think you could save yourself a week by basically giving the questions to everybody who's already replied. That would give an advantage to those who responded to the first one, but it wouldn't close the door on those who are left. And I would think the questions would be short essay questions such as, how is your education and experience prepared you for this position? What is your vision for how the town should go? What is your
Excuse me, just for a second, please. I think those are all good ones, but can we hold off on that till we decide on the process?
Yes, okay. But
Please.
I'm thinking you send out you decide the questions tonight. I would speed things up by a week, I think.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to speak up on that. My only concern is that the deadline is the 23rd. I think what we'd have to say publicly tonight then would be, if you are submitting to be considered, when you submit by the deadline, your submission needs to include answers to the questions that we have posed, because otherwise they won't know to do that. So I think we'd have to put that right in the website and right in the process. But I think you're right. That would save us a week. How do folks feel about that? I'm seeing Tim nod. Beth, how about you?
I post it. Definitely. I mean, if someone sends in their thing, maybe an automatic response email could be just follow these answer these following 3 questions or something.
Yes.
Yeah, and as of tonight, we say the process is when you submit, you must include answers to these questions, and we give the folks that already responded but didn't have those questions posed to them directly. We'll give them a chance to respond also with their answers by the 23rd. So either way, whether you've already indicated interest or whether you are going to express interest, by the 23rd, you must have the answers to the questions we develop tonight.
When was our original, we asked them to let us know by the 22nd, didn't we?
Maybe it was the 22nd. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
so if we ask for their questions by the 23rd, that way, even if someone was running late, at least we'll have all the information for our meeting.
The deadline was the 23rd to get your name in. So
Yeah, I
at
think the
noon time,
deadline was the 23rd.
23rd at noon time. So if somebody sends their name in at noon time on the 23rd, we have a meeting at 6 o'clock that night. You know, that's not gonna,
Yeah, I have to say, I'm a little uncomfortable waiting till the 23rd to get everybody's input and then trying to digest it and vote on somebody that night. I would be uncomfortable. I'll just say it. Doesn't mean I wouldn't do it in the interest of expediency, but I would be uncomfortable doing it.
Well, I mean, I would hate to say we could definitely do it and then something come up. I mean, Tim works, he just gets home just
Right.
before the meetings. He's not gonna have time to read it.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying, you know, I feel uncomfortable and Tim doesn't even have a chance to read it before the meeting. So how comfortable is he going to be? So I think we could ask for the questions by the questions to be answered by the 23rd. And I think John's point is right. We save a week by doing that. But then I think we have to give ourselves a week to read it, digest it, rank them. And then when we come to the next meeting, perhaps on the 30th, then we can come up with the top three. And again, for expediency, we can ask everybody to come to, to be prepared to come into the meeting. And then when we announce the top three for further interviews, the others can drop off the meeting. I mean, there's nothing to say we can't do that.
we keep saying the top three for interviews. Is that part of our process now?
I don't know.
Okay,
Don't know. We're trying to sort through this. John?
Yeah, I would think you'd take the interview, the questions, the responses on the 23rd at your following meeting, and understand everybody, their answers are going to be subject to right to know if anybody wants to see the other people's answers once we've gathered. The board could then read them between the 23rd and the next meeting, and at the next meeting, the board could decide, yeah, we like this candidate or that candidate. I'm not sure interviews are going to add all that much because you probably know most of these people, don't you?
I am not as familiar with all of them as some of them. And so for me, I think an interview in person would be important. That's just me. It's the board's choice. So what I think I'm hearing is develop questions tonight. All candidates submit questions by the 23rd. That gets passed out to us, and on the 30th, we deliberate.
With the intention of making a choice on the 30th?
I can't do the 30th.
Oh, okay. Do we want to pick a different date, or do we want to go?
We already have a meeting for the 29th scheduled.
Oh, that's right.
We could do it on the 29th.
The 29th, what meeting is that?
It was supposed to be just non-public, but you always have to open in public. So you have the choice of seeing that we already have it scheduled. You can add anything to the agenda at this point. It's beforehand.
Yeah.
But why the 29th? That's a Monday night. Why would we have a meeting?
We had scheduled an employee review that night.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does
I'm
that
on
night work
vacation
for
that week.
everybody?
I won't be here.
What's that, Beth?
I won't be here that week.
Oh, the whole week.
No.
I mean,
If
we
you're
do have 2 off weeks in there. We've got the 30th and the 7th before our 14th regular meeting,
Or a different night.
or a different night.
I can do the 7th.
Well, rather than get into the dates, let's get through the process first. I guess what I don't know is, or what I would prefer is at the next meeting after the 23rd, we pick the top 3 and interview. And I think we could do that night. And as John said, maybe, we don't need it to have a lengthy interview, and maybe the interview is nil or very brief for each one of them, depending on how well we all know them. And once we've done that, we could deliberate and decide. Am I missing something there? I mean, how we pick the top 3 maybe is up for discussion, and we can flush that out a little bit more, forced ranking, just a straw poll vote on, who's their top person. I mean, there's a variety of ways of picking those top 3.
I guess before we get that, I guess we need to make up some questions right now, because this is going, like I said, drawn out. We need to discuss what questions we're going to ask these people right now. So
you want to do that before we finish the process timing?
Well, I think John had some good starts.
Okay, but I'm asking a specific question. I'm trying to flush out what the schedule is and exactly what we're going to do when. Do you want to stop that discussion and move to working on the questions? What's the board's preference?
I guess I'm confused about when did we have a meeting scheduled for the 29th? I guess I got caught up on that first.
Okay, that was the performance review for Heather. We scheduled that back when we had the discussions with Mark. Actually, we scheduled that even before we had Mark's meeting scheduled.
I thought that was supposed to be tonight's.
No, tonight was the list of questions night.
Okay.
I scheduled those 2 meetings at the same time for you, Al. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we said we have 2 things.
A long time ago.
One was the list of questions and one was the performance review. The
Right.
performance review came second because that was her 3-month anniversary. John?
At the risk of adding unnecessary work, I'm wondering if you want to schedule a second meeting after the one on the 23rd. If Beth is going to be away the week of the 30th, the following is the 4th of July. That's 2 weeks where it's going to be difficult to, I think, get the whole board together. So do you want to try to have a second meeting the week of the 23rd, maybe meeting again on the 24th, a Zoom meeting, or even on Friday night, the 26th?
That's fine with me, whatever. That's why I was saying, let's decide on what night, how many nights we need to meet, get those scheduled, and then flush out the details for each night. But if you want to move on to the questions, I'm happy with that too. What's the board's pleasure?
Well, I know Matt doesn't like Friday night meetings.
Well, I was actually about to say the opposite. I think a meeting on the 26th. I want this to get going,
Yes.
So I think if we get the answers to those questions on the 23rd and we spend the 26th, if we did, and I agree with Hal, if we have those handful of days to digest their answers, I think a forced ranking would get us a long way there. If we force ranked each, all 8, and we came up with, who winds up at the top. And to be honest, I agree with Mr. Scruton a little bit in that I don't know how much extra we get out of those face-to-face interviews, with the exception of a handful of people who would probably move up in the ranking a little bit based on being less well-known to the group, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough to get them to the top of the list regardless. So being somewhat pragmatic here, I think if we think about our process, if we were to add a meeting on the 26th, we could come out of that potentially with a nominee.
John, you're available on a Friday night?
Yeah, I can do a Friday night. I used to get together with family, but with this social distancing, it's not happening like it used to.
Where are your family now,
Friday
John?
night's available. What?
Where are your family now?
Yeah.
Where's my family? Actually,
No,
I've
we
been
are.
invited over
Wait.
for strawberry shortcake, and I'm sitting here instead.
Oh, that's terrible. No, I was just saying that we are your family now.
Oh, yes, you are my
Sorry
family, yes.
Sorry to say so.
What I plan to do is as the questionnaires are filled out and come in, I plan to send them to you. So you may have quite a few of them before the night of the 23rd. So I think if you get together on either 24 or 26, Wednesday or Friday, I think you'll be probably able to decide what you want to do. If you have 3 that are really strong contenders, that's one thing. If by rank choicing, you have one person get first choice with everybody and them, you may not even go with an interview process. I think that we won't know until we get the questions answered and get them back. But my intent is as they come in, just to forward them right to you so that they'll come in over time rather than all at once at the end. The deadline will be the 23rd, but if people want to stand out, they'll have an incentive then to get the answer in quicker. That's my thought.
Okay. So what I heard is questions tonight, answers by the 23rd, deliberate on the 26th. Do I have that correct?
Deliberate,
And
what day did you say? The 26th?
Well, that's what I heard. I'm not saying that that's what we agreed on, but that's what I heard.
I'm just trying to write stuff down so I know.
Yeah. So
If
questions?
somebody sends their name in on the 23rd, they're going to get auto response back with the questions. And they'll have 2 or 3 days to get them in by noontime.
No, they won't. The process is, as of right, if we're going with what we said,
Okay?
the rules are by the 23rd, everybody who is interested must submit a letter of interest and answer all the questions. If they fail to answer the questions, I'm not voting for them. So folks that are interested should be watching tonight. I don't think there's any excuses in terms of not knowing. We'll put it on the website if that's what we decide. Again, no excuses. If they're interested enough in the town, they should be interested enough to check up on this stuff. That's my opinion. Matt.
I mean, even if we made the deadline for answering the questions midnight on the 23rd, that way if somebody decides to throw their hat in the ring last minute, they've got some hours to crank those out. As opposed to, if somebody is playing the game of, I'm going to wait and see who puts their name in, and if no one I like does it, then maybe I'll do it, right? And people, that's not uncommon.
No,
So if
that's not-
somebody were doing that, then giving them the second half of that day to answer those questions seems fair to me.
Matt, I also think it's not uncommon if somebody plans that far ahead, that they could write up the question answers ahead too.
That's true.
So I don't agree with you on that.
Yep, that's true as well. As long as we think, as long as we're going to put the all of this information up on the website as soon as we have it figured out, then I'm okay with that.
I think that's the big question, and that's part of my concern, and that's part of why I spread it out. Because if we do it the way we're talking about it, I don't believe we have room for error. So I don't mind doing it. but then it's got to be perfect. So right now I've got fill out the question or generate the questions tonight. Require everybody to answer the questions by the 23rd, and we deliberate on the 26th with the idea that we do some type of forced ranking or something to identify if we're anywhere close to agreement. If we're not close to agreement, then maybe that night we have to decide on next steps in terms of how we get to at least the top one or two at that point. And maybe that's the way we have to leave it, because I don't know what the results are going to be. If there's 10 people, or excuse me, 8 people, and we all put 2 different ones as our top persons, it might be pretty tough.
Mm-hmm.
So, do we want to try to do this in an expeditious way, knowing that if we miss a posting, we don't get it quite right, somebody might complain that they didn't know about it, blah, 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 blah. What do we want to do? I'm willing to, take other alternate approaches, but it's up to you guys. You want to take a short break and think about it a little bit? Because I could use the restroom. Let's take a 3-minute recess, please.
Lisa.
Okay, I'm back. Thank you for that pause to refresh. Let's see, we need Tim yet. Oh, there he is. Good. Okay, so when we last left our heroes, they were contemplating the process of develop the questions tonight, ask for interest and answers to the questions back by noon on the 23rd, and then we deliberate on the 26th. That deliberation could include a method to identify top 2 or 3 or top 1. It might include interviews if we so desire or not. Interviews if we desire. Maybe another 10 minutes or 15 minutes per top 2 or 3 candidates, and then deliberation. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Tim. Further discussion? Hearing none, what we're voting on is develop the questions tonight, post everything tomorrow. I should have said post everything tomorrow. It won't be posted tonight. Answers back by the 23rd. We deliberate on the 26th, where we try to identify the top 2 or 3 by some means. And then if we feel based on that we need to interview, we'll interview those 3 briefly, no more than maybe 15 minutes. And then we'll go right into the deliberations and try to select somebody. Matt.
So this is a question for John. If we were to use a ranking sheet or a scoring rubric, any of that would be available through a 91A request as a public document, but we wouldn't necessarily have to go through the process of reading everything into public record, right? Could we? Okay.
Yeah. You know,
I'm just thinking in terms of expediency.
Yeah, Matt, I guess maybe that opens up the question of, are we going to require the board members to do that? Or are we just going to ask the board members, for example, to force rank the people? I'm a little bit concerned that we ask somebody to use a Rubik's or something like that that they might not be familiar with or uncomfortable with. And, you know, maybe they can't fully express all their questions or concerns or positives, if you want to, you know, take the opposite approach. And then third, you know, sometimes these formats tend to force rank the, not force rank, but force a assumption of equality on the points. Whereas maybe I rank some of the points or some of the factors
Much higher.
far more important than some of the other ones.
Yeah, to me, a simple forced ranking as the first method makes perfect sense.
How do the other folks feel about that? And well, first off, do folks understand what I mean when I say forced ranking? John, go ahead. John, it'd be
You're on mute.
better if you're
I'm sorry, I shut it off when I took the break. Perhaps it would make it easier if what you asked is for each person to pick the top 3 and rank them, and not necessarily produce a spreadsheet with all the boxes checked. That would simplify things from a right to know standpoint in terms of how many documents were produced. But it would also, that we would then collate and say A, B, and C was Matt's choice, and C, D, and E was your choice, Hal, and A, D, and E was Timothy's choice. And, you know, you just put that together, and you might end up that nobody chose E, F, G, and H. And so consequently, you shorten the list rather quickly.
And then we can do it again.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So I think what I hear John saying is instead of forced rank all the way down 1 through 8 or 1 through 10, he's suggesting that at the meeting, once we have all the information, we would each rank rank 3 people, 1, 2, and 3, first choice, second choice, third choice, and we tally up those votes and see if anybody comes out to the top, or maybe we just agree that the top 2 or 3 we will then discuss in more detail. I'm a little bit hesitant personally to use any of those rankings and then just declare a winner. I would like to see, at least a couple folks, if not 3, compared and discussed in detail. Again, that's just my opinion, but to get to that point, I kind of like John's idea.
Yeah,
Beth, how do you, oops, I'm sorry, Tim, did you want to say something? No, Beth, how do you feel about that? Are you comfortable with that approach? Oh, Beth, unmute yourself, please. Yeah.
No, I'm fine with that.
Okay, and Tim, how about you? Yeah, okay. So it sounds like we're comfortable with, basically once we've had the answers, we can think for a few days and then have our top 3 picks. And we can tally that up and see where we stand at that point and decide whether we want to interview. Maybe we don't need to, but then we can deliberate on those top 3 and make a choice. Is that what I'm hearing?
So you're talking about like tallying up like you did like Heather's review, what I looked at? Is that what did you guys talking about, like Matt? How you?
Yeah, okay. So let's walk through this. I want to make sure people understand this because if you're uncomfortable with it or don't grasp it, you won't be able to feel comfortable then with the results. So let's say there's 10 candidates. Numbers 1, I can't do the letters. Well, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So there's 10 candidates. Okay. So then after we look at the answers to the questions, Hal will say, boy, I really like A, C, and E. And I like them in that order. So if I had my first choice, it'd be A. If I had my second choice, it would be C. If I had my third choice, it would be E. And then Matt does the same thing. And he maybe says, well, I kind of like B, C, and E. But I like E the best. So that one gets number 1 in his. And then C gets number 2 and B gets number 3. And so on and so on. So then for each candidate, A, how many votes did you get for number 1? Or maybe it's just you add up the votes and lowest score wins. So if candidate A gets 4 1s, that's pretty clear indication that's who we're going to go with. I still think we should discuss, number 1 and number 2, but so let's say candidate number F gets, no 1s, but gets all 2s, or, some other combination of votes, ranking. But we basically it's sort of like golf, lowest score wins. You rank who's first, second, third in your mind, and the top 2 or 3 from a lowest score perspective are the ones that we would consider the most then.
I would suggest the math work a little differently, but that's the general point. Yes,
yeah.
Should be reversed, but yes.
Right, because if one person votes 1 and nobody else votes for that person, we don't want them to win by default. It should be a maximum score. Say a first choice gets 3 points, second choice gets 2 points, third choice gets 1.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
I agree, Matt.
Yeah, okay. But does everybody understand what we're talking about doing? Essentially, everybody on the board here is going to be responsible to pick their top 3 candidates, and within those top 3 of each of yours, you're going to be asked which one is your highest choice, your second choice, and your third choice. And then we'll leave it up to Matt, who does these types of things, to to tally the results. I know that's what we did on the performance reviews for Heather, and he's pretty quick at it, so I think we can do this. So does everybody understand the process now for sure? Again, I don't want people to feel uncomfortable because that's not going to be good as we go through the process. Okay.
And just with the reminder that whatever the math says, then will only lead to a motion, right? So there's still an opportunity to voice your opinion, to vote against, whatever. So
Right. Yeah. And, quite frankly, it could be that, there's a discussion between number one and number two in terms of the ranking, and the motion comes out that in terms of the numerical, the number two person gets the motion. I mean, could work out that way after discussion. John?
Yeah, basically, the process is being suggested is to eliminate the bottom 6 to 7 people.
Right.
So that you can focus your attention on those that everyone likes for some reason or other, and then you choose between them. And I think that needs to be clear up front, that it's not going to be the best mathematical score wins.
Right.
Is that the best mathematical score doesn't get eliminated, doesn't get voted off the island. All those who don't get the best votes are voted off the island.
Yeah, I think that was what I was trying to say earlier, John, but you stated it a little bit more eloquently, so thank you.
I like the whole tiki torch idea. That could be fun.
We snuff out your torch, you're gone.
Can somebody bring the tiki torches?
And I'll say, I mean, I'm a big fan of ranked choice voting in general. So in terms of how that process works, that's something I'm very comfortable with. So
yeah. Well, if you're used to it, I think you do have a certain comfort level. I just wasn't sure how many people were, and this is important. We don't want people to feel uncomfortable or uncertain as to how it's going to work. So
once I think I see it, I think we use the same thing in the Guard too, with different promotions and stuff like that. So I'm sure I'm in the ballpark, so we're all set.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, if there's some questions, Matt, if you don't mind, maybe work up a couple examples or something, and
sure.
we'll just show people how it could work. And, quite frankly, on the 26th, we can review it again just to remind everybody what we're asking them to do. And it's probably good to do that anyway and just make sure people understand. But again, like John said, we're just trying to figure out some way, if we can, to narrow it down to 2 or 3 that we consider in more detail. And once we do that, I think we leave the process open. If we try to define that too much, I think we might get really tangled up. So I think we just leave it, we narrow it down to 2 or 3, and then we go into more serious deliberations, more detailed deliberations. Okay, so that was a lot of discussion. Do I need to remake the motion, or does everybody remember what we said? John?
Are you also in this canceling the meeting on the 29th? So you're only having a meeting 23 and 26 and no meeting on the 29th.
Well, I think in deference to Beth, if she's not here, this is important. Right. We don't want to lose out on her input. So by definition, if she can't be here on the 29th, I'm not in favor of meeting.
Right. So we're eliminating that meeting and adding the Friday, the 26th instead.
The 26th. And I think it should be said right up front, if we're deadlocked or can't make a determination on the 26th, then what do we want to do? Do we want to have a second date where we just say, hey, we're going to pick? Or maybe we have a second meeting where we either get a final candidate, or we say we're going to ask the court to appoint.
I think asking the court to appoint is a last resort. It's best if you can reach consensus.
Right, but that's why I'm saying, we try on the 26th, we try again on some future meeting date, But on that future meeting date, do we agree that if we can't come to consensus, we go to the court, or do we want to not make that drastic a move and maybe reconsider once again?
So
You go ahead.
well, I'd like to think that worst case scenario on the 26th, we come out with a handful of contenders, right? That's worst case scenario. Even if each of the four of us were to pick our top choice, right? We could then let Beth go away. And then would you be back for the 7th, Mrs. Boudreaux? So if we needed to use the 7th as a cage match and just fight to the death to pick a winner, we do so then.
Well,
I think by the 26th, we might have 4 different people, so that narrows it down, or 6
Right.
people, like Matt said. I'm good with that. 7th.
That also gives that we can change to do interviews if that's what we choose to do.
That's true too. So there's a little safety valve there. I
Yep.
like that. I like that a lot, actually.
And I would discourage the court option. I think if you're deadlock, you go with flip a coin, draw a name out of a hat, something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens in a tie election. So if you end up tied, you've already narrowed it down to ones that you all like as far as the consensus is. This is the best pool.
Okay, that's
And
an
if you
option.
can't, if you can't vote, rather than go to court, you.
Yeah, I kind of
name out of
like
a hat.
that.
Yeah, let's keep this in-house.
Yeah, don't go to court if you can avoid it.
That's a much better idea. Or we could do arm wrestling or thumb wrestling, or like bocce ball, closest one to the. We'll figure something out. But I like, especially if we get it down to 2, a coin toss. John, I'm just warning you in advance. If it's a coin toss, it's going to be you flipping the coin.
Understand.
Yeah, I'm not flipping that coin here. I am not flipping that coin. But hopefully we don't get to that. We got a pretty good slate, so I think we can figure something out. But yeah, okay. But John, I appreciate that suggestion. So by the 7th, like you say, we'll have that. We'll have it resolved. So. John, I'm going to ask, given that you've listened to all of this, I'm going to ask that you assuming the vote passes, I'm going to ask that you put those 4 points, or do you want me to write? No, I think I better not write it up. You're taking notes, or if
I'll
you would
work with what Susan has got down in the minutes, and
yeah, please.
We'll come up with a summary to go on the website, and I'll try to have it go up on the website with the notice, and I'll have Lisa email every candidate the questions and tell them the process.
Right. So, yes, because as a courtesy, they might not necessarily be checking the website or no. I'm kind of hoping that they will all be listening in, but if for some reason they're not and they've already submitted and didn't know this, letting them know is, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, in fact, we'll try to get a response to make sure they've gotten the email.
Yeah, so we'll work on the questions, the answers back by the 23rd. We deliberate on the 26th, narrow it down, maybe make a choice. And if we can't, we at least have some more thoughts, and then we meet on the 7th to finalize it.
So moved.
No, thank you, because that's what I was going to ask.
Is that anybody else got something to add?
No, unless I'm mistaken, we already had a motion and a second
Okay.
on the question.
Okay, but we added
All right,
that 7th
We
thing.
had a lot of amendments to it.
Yeah, but I think the only real substantive one was the 7th. Your tag team, was it a tag team match or a cage match? I forget.
Cage match.
Okay.
Yep.
A
Maybe
fundraiser for the rec playground.
Pardon?
It could be a fundraiser for the playground.
That could be.
People would come to watch.
Either way, John will put it in the right terms for a municipality. Okay, any further discussion? I thought that was excellent discussion. Okay, then we're up for a roll call vote. Beth,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and Hal is yes. Okay, that was great. So now We're up
Questions.
to the list of questions. I actually think, John, you started with a pretty good list. So can you both make some recommendations, and as we come up with other ones, add them to the list for consideration, please?
Yes, I always like to start interviews with a question that allows a person to explain why they think they're a good candidate for the job. So usually it's something to the extent, tell me how your experiences in education have prepared you for being a selectman or select board member.
Okay, so why are you a good candidate? Let them say in their own words.
Yes,
Okay, what's the next question, or what's another question?
I would think a next question is, what do you view as the role of an individual select board member on the board?
Okay,
Another one could be, what do you view as the role of the select board?
okay,
Another one could be, what is your vision for the future of Northwood?
okay.
You don't want to ask all of them, and I think you want to limit them to, a half a page or something. You don't want to be reading somebody. Although I have found, I interviewed a candidate once, and he talked himself out of the job because he took the entire interview on that first question, and he just kept droning on and on and
Yeah.
on. And one of the things that we had made clear up front is we wanted somebody who would help the board be more efficient in their meetings and have shorter meetings. And as soon as he left the room, I said, if you have him, you're going to be here until midnight.
We
Yeah,
already
Didn't-
are.
Welcome aboard.
Fit right in.
those were pretty good questions, John. Do you have any others that you'd like to add to that?
I mean, it's just general questions to help them express what do you have a collaborative team building? How do you view your management style as collaborative or authoritarian or something like that? I mean, you could try
Okay,
to.
what's your meeting style? What's your management style?
Yes, what's your meeting and management style?
Do you ever ask them if they have superpowers?
No, I haven't, although I have asked them. I remember one question I used to throw at them when I was interviewing. How many quarters stacked on edge would it take to reach the height of the Empire State Building? And the
Now there's
reason
Google.
was, huh?
They can Google that.
Well, no, they were sitting there in front of me. And the main thing was to see how they would handle a question that was so off the wall, they wouldn't have any idea. Now, the winners would usually be, well, we could assume a quarter is an inch and 12 of them would make a foot, and there's 10 feet to a story and there's 110 stories. So, they could try to do the math that way. Another one was why are sewer hole covers round?
Is this a joke, John?
No, it's a serious question.
No,
You ever think about that?
I bet you Tim knows the answer.
I'm not going to say it. I want somebody else to say it.
Yeah, it's the kind of question. How are they thinking on their feet when they get something unexpected in an interview? Also, when I'm interviewing, I also would frequently ask experience-based questions. Tell me a time when you were angry and how did you handle that anger? Or when somebody said something that really upset you and said something that what if your supervisor said something really mean to another employee? What would you do? Trying to get at character. But in this case,
I think that question in particular is probably really important for this board. We don't always agree, but we live in a small town and we need to continue to be colleagues and neighbors and friends. Beth and I have been fighting for months, and I brought her flowers the other day. So, this is how we operate.
Yeah, that was kind of the management of the board question. I think
No,
I don't think that's appropriate for an essay, but I do think you need to get at that question when you bring somebody in, if you're interviewing them, or
Well-
if you know them in the, uh, how quick a burn they have before they reach a level where they explode, something like that. But I don't know
I
how
think,
you,
I think one of the ones we should ask is how will you handle things when decisions go against you?
Right.
I think we should
yeah,
ask,
that's a
how
good
you,
question.
what will be your reaction and actions thereafter when a decision goes against you?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, and you really want to know if they're going to support the board decision if it goes against them, or are they going to undercut the board?
Right. Okay. John, those were good. So to the other board members, did that prompt any other thoughts? Matt?
So I'd like to hear their thoughts on the balancing act between serving and maintaining the public good and keeping our eye on the tax rate. Right? That's sort of a constant juggling act that we're doing on the board.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Just as long as they're coming on board to be like an equal member, not having an own personal agenda.
Maybe we should ask that. Do you have any agenda items?
Well, you have to add it a little different than that, but
Yeah,
that's what you're
that's
trying
what
to
I'm-
get at.
Yeah, but John, you can, I mean, that is a little bit different than vision for the future. I guess I would also like to ask, are you willing to put in the time that it takes?
Mm.
And listen, I'm not trying to do this as a hit on Jim Hadley. I got to tell you, I feel the same thing Jim felt. And I'll be blunt. If I had known it was going to take this much time, I might not have run. So I think we need to let folks know there's a serious time commitment. The town needs some serious help. And there's not going to just be a 1.5 hour meeting every couple of weeks, and you can just show up and, chat for 90 minutes and then move on. There's a lot of texts and emails to read. I shouldn't say text, a lot of emails to read, a lot of documents to go through, a lot of preparation to do. So I want to ask, are they ready and willing to put in the time?
Well, that's not an essay question, because that has a binary answer. So
I'm okay with that being a binary answer.
if you want to add that as an extra question, 2 or 3 binary questions in addition to some essay questions, I think the essay questions, you're trying to get at how are they at communicating their thoughts.
No, I understand.
But then the binary questions, I think you could have a few of each, but you don't want to get this, you're going to have to read them all. So you don't want to have it be a long 10-page document.
This is going to be a 1-page read.
I
Even more than 2 pages, you're on the bottom of the list.
Well, I would
I
think
think that's part of the candidate's, prerogative. If
They
they
want to
think,
answer the first question, like John said a while ago, with the first 99 words of the 150-word essay, then they got the next 10 answers to cram in,
or they can put 1,000 words or 3,000 words to each one of them, but that might be part of our consideration.
Yeah, if you look at it and you see it's 3 pages, you might just say, well, we're done here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's up to them. I don't think we should put any restrictions on it. Let them answer them the way they want.
Yeah. If they're smart, they're listening to this conversation, or they will listen to it before they write their answers.
You don't have to be listening tonight to get the answers.
2
No.
pages would be ideal.
I agree. No, I don't think you can keep it to 1. If you got 3 essay questions, you got to go, and then you got a few short answer questions. You're going to have to go onto a 2nd page. But
Yeah, I think we're up to 6, tell you the truth. No, more than.
6 pages of questions.
Let's go
Longer
down.
than my college application. Jeez.
Okay, so why do you think you're a good candidate?
I like the vision for the future. That was a good one.
Well, yeah, I'm just trying to remember what John said. The role of the, what do you think your role is going to be on the select board? Is that how you said it,
Yeah,
John?
role of the individual, role of the board.
Yeah, maybe it's, compare and contrast or something, how do you think the role of the individual versus the role of the board varies or something like that? Maybe, so that's just maybe one question. Vision for the future, I think we all agree on that one too?
Mhm.
Okay. John, you said something about management style.
Yeah, management style, whether it was collaborative or authoritative.
Well, just,
And then what's your reaction to a decision that goes against you?
yeah, do you think we need the management style and the other one, or can we get by with just the how would you handle decisions?
I think you could get by with just a second.
Are you comfortable with that, Beth?
Yeah, I was reading off what he said. I wrote them all down.
Yeah, okay. So let's just go with, how would you react? How will you handle decisions that go against you?
Mm-hmm.
And then I like Matt's about the balancing act between public good and tax rate. Matt, do you have another one to add?
So I actually want to see if people would be open to reconfiguring the question about the future for Northwood, because it's really easy to sort of soft pedal that answer. But if we push it as if you just got awarded $1 million grant that you need to spend on the municipality, where would you spend it? Sort of gets to the same idea in terms of priorities for the town, and that sort of move towards the future without being able to say, I just want us all to be good neighbors and get along and have a good time.
I kind of like that positive attitude, Matt, but I'm going to recommend the opposite. I'm going to suggest you just found out that the town had a $500,000 disaster that we have to pay for ourselves. Where would you cut the spending? And why?
Or would you raise taxes?
Well, if it's this budget year, we can't unless we go into emergency. So you'll need to frame it in some way. And maybe a $500,000 is a little bit extreme, but let's just say it's a $250,000 problem that we have to pay for. And we have to make sure that we don't go over on the budget. So you have to leave a little bit of leeway in the budget. So maybe you have to figure you have to cut a $500,000 out of the budget in total. How would you do it and why? So I like the positive attitude, Matt, but I think it's more of a more realistic situation to consider what I'm suggesting.
Well, I mean,
I think you're probably right.
You could also do, okay, so the budget was voted down. I mean, that's the truth for the past 2 years.
Yeah. Well, I like to put a little more pressure on it where it's not just voted down and you're only dealing with, maybe a couple percent.
You wanted disaster. First you wanted darts, now you want a disaster.
We could do axe throwing too.
If I may, you're up to seven questions. I think you could combine 3 of them actually into one. Would be discuss your philosophy for balancing spending and taxes. If you got $1 million grant, how would you apply it? If you had a $250,000 shortfall, how would you cut? How would you handle it?
I like that. I see our odds on that. Wow, John, you scored a point on that one.
Gold star for John.
I'm going to ask Beth to award 1 gold star. Okay. I kind of like that list. You want to read it back, John? Just the ones you got?
But I'm trying to write the last one I said now to put it down in writing.
Yeah.
Boy, he gets it.
At least it's on tape, so we can pull it out.
Yeah, but I think I'd like to hear it so that we can just sort of, go through them and make sure we're all comfortable. And I think it's important to get a good list I don't think it's critical to be all the questions, because we'll think of some other ones, and that might be part of why we want to have a short interview when we narrowed it down. So I think let's just get a reasonable list and move on.
Okay, 1, why do you think you're a good candidate? Number 2, discuss the role of the individual and the role of the board, noting especially how you would handle decisions that go against you.
There you go.
And then 3, and then the last one, how would you balance spending and taxes? Discuss if you received $1 million windfall, what you would do, and discuss if in the budget year there was an unexpected $250,000 expense. They're going to be longer essays, but I think that focuses on 3 questions.
4. I thought I counted 4, to tell you the truth, but no?
Well, I had combined, 1 is what do you think takes, tell why you think you're a
Right.
good candidate.
Yeah,
Number 2, discuss the role of the individual, the role of the
Right.
board, in particular, how you would handle in decisions go against you.
yeah.
Put that in that question. And then the third one is, how would you balance spending and taxes, discussed if you received $1 million or you had a 250 shortfall?
That is only,
Great.
you're right. Wow.
I like those.
Yeah, I like them a lot too. And like I said, it's not like we can't ask other questions if we feel we don't know the candidates well enough or want to, probe a little deeper. It keeps it simple. I like that. And yeah. So Tim, are you comfortable with that list? Oh, great. Okay. And Beth, what about you?
That's fine. Yep.
Okay.
What I'll do is I'll email it out to you tomorrow. If you could comment on it, then Lisa and Susan can see that it gets sent to, between them, that it gets sent out to the candidates and gets on the website.
Yep. And then again, we just want to make sure everybody knows answers for everybody, including anybody new that's throwing their hat in the ring. Both their letter of interest and the answers are all due by the 23rd. And then I think all I ask then on the 23rd is that I think just to be safe, send out an electronic copy of everything by the end of the day on the 23rd. Is that possible, Lisa? Or do we have to do that maybe Wednesday? I'm just trying to think, what all goes on that 23rd, the day before the day of the meeting.
Well, I assume the 8 that we already have, or whatever the number is, will work at their essays and get them in before the 23rd.
That'd be
so that
nice.
It would be nice. If they don't, we'll be getting those out to you electronically. But I do think we'll try to put everything together into one package with all of them in alphabetical order with their essays and answers.
Yeah. Oh, earlier, John, we did talk about, and I want to get the board's position on this. Did we say that we were going to send, I understand getting the whole package and having it, all nice and neat. And that is actually something maybe we even post on the website. But at one point we did say, as they come in, we'll send them out so we can read them. But then in the end, we'll make sure we have a complete pack for everybody.
Right. We'll send them out as they come in, and then we'll send one at the end with everything together in one package.
And then that consolidated can even go on the website, and so people can read about the potential candidates. And I think that's good. Okay. Lisa, you comfortable with that approach?
We need to make a motion for these questions. Are we good on that, or?
I think that's a good point. So do we want to read them again, or do we want to just
moved. I'm good. Everybody?
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to accept the 3 questions that John just read off. And Tim, you making that motion? And who's a second? Beth is a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Tim?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
And Hal? Yes. Well, John, thank you very much
Yes,
for that.
thank you, John.
I think that really, your insight and experience really helped us there.
Thank you.
I have to be honest. I was originally envisioning that being a long discussion, and so your suggestions helped us quite a bit. Okay, we're now up to some items that I highlighted in yellow in the email that I just sent out prior to the meeting. I apologize for not sending it out earlier. It's basically the same as what we had talked about before, with some of the additions, and John asked for a couple other ones, and I also highlighted in yellow. So on any of the ones in yellow, I understand we didn't have it on the original agenda, and if somebody wants to make a motion to table, I completely understand. But I think if we work expeditiously, we can get through these pretty quick. So I'd appreciate it if you don't mind. Let's try to work through them. So I sent out earlier this evening, probably 4:30, 5 o'clock, maybe later. We actually have contracts now, draft contracts from the engineering company. When we gave me authorization to sign the contract for Northeast Earth Mechanics, we did not make a motion to have me sign the contract for the engineering. And I would appreciate a motion to do so, because I think we might be able to get these all signed this week. So, John, go ahead.
I would suggest the motion authorize you, Hal, to sign all contracts related to completing the project, including anything related to the state or the engineers or the contractor.
We're going to give you a blanket PO policy.
No blanket PO, no spending. Sign all. Yeah, I think that's good to sign all documents necessary for the board to sign in relationship to this project. Do I have a motion to that effect?
And if I may, that would include change orders, because somebody's going to have to often very quickly make a decision on a change order.
Yeah,
You can't wait. If you're digging and you find something that's going to, you found ledge, you got to do something with it.
Hammer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just so I understand, just so everyone understands, you're authorizing Hal to make those kinds of decisions.
Yep.
Okay.
Beth, is that part of your motion?
Yes. Well, I don't know who made the motion.
I'll second.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't hear the question fully, Matt.
Oh, no, I moved it. Matt seconded.
Okay. So, okay. So it wasn't addressed to me. The question was addressed to you then. Okay.
Correct.
Further discussion?
We'll be checking on you, Hal, with short range.
I would just like to say how much I appreciate the.
Oh, yes, Hal. Thank you very much.
From you the last several days, it's been really good.
Yeah.
Copying us, even and just copying us on those emails as they happen. It's encouraging and it's makes us feel good. So
it actually might happen.
I think it might. Yeah, I'm hoping. The mechanics is pretty good, so I have high hopes with them.
Yeah, the holdup at this point has been the contractor the subcontractor who's doing the abutments. That's the time critical factor that may delay this. Yeah. So we'll see how we do on getting those drawings expedited and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, John, to your point, being able to sign off on that kind of stuff as it comes up, as Josh sends it and stuff, that's critical.
Yep.
So, okay. So any further discussion? So Matt, how do you vote?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
And Tim?
Yes. And thank you, Hal. Yep.
Thank you. I also vote yes. So thank you. Okay. On the next one, I have it as a motion to allow opening up town hall for meeting room. I'd actually like to just phrase it this way. People are asking about using town hall. I know we've had discussions about that we want to meet and make certain we have different provisions and this, that, or the other. So I think really maybe my first question is, are we even ready to make this kind of decision, or should we just be saying no until the people have a chance to meet? So Beth, you're part of that group, so,
So we're meeting tomorrow, so I don't think we can make that decision tonight. We haven't even met yet.
okay, so then I think the way I'm gonna interpret your comment is we should just tell people no meetings in the
The big room.
big
I mean, I'm
room.
assuming we're gonna have to buy some supplies. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
say they can come and use the big room but not use the bathroom. Like, you can't have that. I mean, look, we can't
Let's
meet
not have
without
the
using the
discussion.
bathroom.
We don't
So
need-
I think
we
we're
don't
not
need
ready yet.
discussion. So I think, John, you said something to Linda about the police commission meeting or something. I
Yeah,
don't
I
have,
authorized the police commission to meet tonight in there because it's a small group. They can easily spread out with that small number of members. So that seemed to be a reasonable exception because it's not like the planning board or the budget committee, which has 16 members, or
yeah,
the planning board, which is drawing in a lot of others. So I did make that decision on my own, but in general, I think the board at the next meeting on the 23rd, hopefully we'll have something coming out of tomorrow's meeting to give some guidelines.
okay.
Because if
So
you-
then, yeah, so then,
if you-
for example, tomorrow night, when we have the safety facilities strategy meeting, we're going to be looking at the facilities. So we're going to be mobile for most of the meeting, but then we want to have a place to come back to do the minutes and stuff. And I'm just going to tell them we're going to have to do it outside at town hall, and that'll just be it. I'm comfortable with doing that. I'm uncomfortable pushing the boundary any further than that. So Beth, you're okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, good. Then I don't think we need to do anything more on that. We'll leave it up to the subcommittee to work through the details. And yeah, Matt, I'm
When's
sorry.
the next planning board meeting? I know that's one committee in particular that, when, 25th, Susan? All right.
Yeah,
I'm assuming we're gonna have we'll be able to bring forth the next meeting on the 23rd, what we talk about. So maybe,
That's what I mean. I feel pretty confident that we're going to be able to, that a week from tonight, we will have a successful motion to reopen town hall for meetings,
under certain provisions.
under certain provisions. So,
Okay. Yeah, my sense is too. I mean, there's some work to be done.
yeah.
And it's not to say it won't get modified. John, you want to say something?
Yeah, in my opinion, you're going to need either mask or 6-foot distances of everybody who's in the room. And you're going to have cleaning supplies for the bathroom.
Oops, John,
Or,
cut you off. Excuse me. You're trying to have the meeting in our meeting here.
no, yeah, okay. Nope, that's fair.
Sorry. I don't want to deny Beth the pleasure of that discussion. You're on that committee. You get to state your opinion when they have that meeting.
Yep, you're right. Good point. I agree.
Okay, I appreciate though, folks being up front and being very specific about that. So thank you. Okay, so then on a related subject, and maybe we need to talk about this in non-public as it may affect hiring a building inspector, but we did get a memo from some folks asking about occupancy permits. And I'd like to ask the board, how do we want to handle requests like this? Do we want to delegate them to John? Do we want to refer them back to the state? In this case, I think the state has some guidelines, but maybe they're looking for some additional stuff from us to help the process go smoother. John, do you have some ideas or suggestions?
The governor's executive order, as it relates to this, allows the builder to build at his own risk and to proceed. It's not clear what happens with occupancy permits, but frankly, I am not qualified, nor would I want to issue a CO. I think we merely have to indicate to, in this case, the bank, to see the governor's proclamation and to indicate that at this point, we're not, you know, he has to go by that and act on that.
Okay, so could I have a board motion, or do we need a board motion to direct John to do that, or we just assign it to him?
Well, that's what I plan to do unless the board directs me otherwise.
Okay, well, you answered your own my question. Okay, well, you're going to be busy tomorrow. Matt.
I do think that the only issue we're going to run into with some folks is that I do know some of the federal authorities. So if somebody has something like an FHA loan, my understanding is that they're not being very flexible with some of their requirements pursuant to having a CO before closing. So I do think it's something that we can only kick this can down the road so far before we run into an issue that's not going to be resolvable.
So
yeah, I agree. I think we have to have it resolved within the next couple of 3 weeks, but not tonight.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that discussion. And John, thank you for stepping up. Okay, unless I'm missing something, I think we're ready to go back into non-public. We have several items to cover. Do I have a motion to go into non-public?
Under what?
Well, this one would be
personnel and reputation.
Yeah, both A and C.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Beth.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
And Hal. Yes. Okay, so I guess we have to do the same thing. I guess we have to come back out and vote. No, Lisa, you're going to say something, right?
So you're having a meeting on Friday?
Yes.
So technically that would be within the 3 days, correct, Susan? So they could vote to seal the minutes on Friday?
Wait a minute. No, we're not meeting this
We don't
Friday.
have a meeting this Friday.
It's
I thought
next Friday. The
I thought you
27th.
Oh, it was 26. Sorry, never mind.
Don't get ahead
Good
of us.
idea, though. I like where you were going.
Tried.
Tried.
Yeah,
We're gonna take a star away from you.
you can have a meeting just to steal your minutes.
No, because it never
Just
just,
kidding.
no.
Okay, so I have to come back out and vote.
Okay. All right.
Stick around, girls. We'll be back.
We'll be here.
I'll send you a text, Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I'm going to take a 2-minute bio break and I'll be back in non-public in just a minute.
Well, you haven't voted to go into non-public yet. Remember.
Well, yeah, I guess you can tell how bad I got to go.
I thought we did,
I
John.
thought you did. Yeah, you
Did
guys.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. That's
Now,
what
let's talk about it some more. Let's all squirm.
Might not have
Sorry.
voted. You might have done first and second, though.
Beth made the motion. Matt seconded it.
Correct.
We all voted sure.
Oh, okay.
But it has to be roll call, but okay.
Hey, I did. Beth
We
voted.
did. We roll called it.
Okay,
That's for sure. Jeez, John, you're making me a little nervous about this note taking.
who seconded again?
Matt.
I seconded.
Matt, okay.
He's good on questions, but he's not good on. Okay.
805 A and C.
Okay. A and C. Yeah, thank you.